It's Wednesday on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Today, we do some Steelers and some Buccos talk. While the Steelers have finished their NFL draft, we're going to talk a little bit more about Darnell Washington and how he fits in with the tight end room, as well as what does Omar Khan still need to do in free agency to address things they didn't get in the draft. Then we'll flip to the Buccos with Jason Mackey, and we're going to talk about their loss, but also what they've been doing to still put themselves in position that even while losing two games in a row, the first time they've lost back-to-back games since the start of the season, that they're still in first place in the Central. All here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it. You are now listening to the North Shore Drive podcast, a show on all things Pittsburgh sports from the writers of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, hosted by Christopher Carter. Hello and welcome to the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We're joined today by Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. You can find all of our work at post-gazette.com. Ray, one of our esteemed Steelers writers. And we're going to get into some more draft talk today, but also about what the team needs to do after the draft. But let's stick to the draft. We've talked a lot about Joey Porter Jr. We've talked a lot about Broderick Jones. But let's focus on the third-round pick here, and that's Darnell Washington, the guy that the Steelers brought in for a top 30 visit. Went to his pro day. Granted, they went to Georgia's pro day, so they kind of saw a lot of people there. But he was one of four guys that we talked about before the draft who they had the top brass visit for their pro days and brought in for a top 30 visit to the facility, and the only tight end they brought in. And they were not only happy to get him in the third round, they traded down knowing that he was going to be there. But Ray, how does Darnell Washington fit into this offense today, as in right now? Is he a guy that's a number 2 tight end, or is he going to have to work his way up from number 3 past Gentry?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Chris, every rookie is going to have to earn their stripes. And I'm sure they'll start Darnell Washington out, last on the depth chart behind Zach Gentry. But as soon as he proves that he can handle that job, and he'll have plenty of opportunities. For the number of times that the Steelers go live in training camp. I mean, you're up there. You know what it's like. Mm-hmm. They probably go more live scrimmaging, live team drills than any team in the league. So Darnell Washington is going to have his chance to prove that he can do that, as well as in the preseason game. So as soon as he does that, as soon as he proves he's a better run blocker than Zach Gentry, and everything we've heard about him says that's true, he just has to do it on the NFL level. So as soon as that happens, I would expect him to be paired along with Pat Freiermuth. And, when that happens in season, I don't know. It could be in September, could be October, but they're very excited about having him. He's been described as a 6th offensive lineman. And I don't know if this was a throwaway line or if there's any truth to it, but apparently on his Georgia license plate, it says something like 6th offensive lineman, according to Mike Tomlin. So that's why they got him. I know there's a lot of upside and people talking about his athleticism, but first and foremost, he was brought in here to block.
Well, I mean, I remember seeing in the combine when they were doing their on-field drills and the tight ends were all moving the sleds and everyone was kind of like laboring, and he was the only one who like hit the sled and it just like slid. It was like it was on ice with how much he was moving it, just making it look so easy. And you look at the raw strength, the size that he brings. Is it really the blocking, or will he have to also kind of show an adeptness to make plays downfield as a tight end? Not that Zach Gentry does that, especially, at an elite level, but having, and when you have a tight end on the field, usually they are a security valve for the quarterback. I feel like there's going to have to still be some chemistry that builds up between Washington and Pickett. Yeah,
for sure. He's going to have to know the playbook. He's going to have to know when he's hot in a route. He's going to have to learn how to get open in the NFL. That's all part of it. But if you look at the ways the Steelers have gotten the ball to Gentry over the years, really it's a lot of and they did this with Jesse James too. If you remember, just like a lot of play action, slip him out behind the linebackers when it's a run heavy look. So I think they'll probably look to do that with Washington. Again, I think that's kind of the way they use their number 2 tight end in passing formation. So, I think rightfully there's excitement about his upside, but when you look at the way this team is structured, a lot of people said, "Oh, this is a luxury pick. You didn't need a tight end in the 3rd round." Well, really, Chris, if you look at it and you look at the way this team is being built, they're leaning into the running game.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a pick. Yeah, it's a value pick, but maybe this is a pick that the Steelers really wanted to make. I know there's great value in it, but when you look at the way they want to play football, what did Matt Canada say? There's no real secret to how we want to do things. Well, no, they're telegraphing it. They're getting big people. They want to run the football against you, and that's going to be their game plan.
No, I feel you on that, and that's where I look at this team right now, and I say, like, they're getting tougher, they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger. They want to run the football and stop the run, and in defense, they've made their investments there, and they got the guy, but they need to build an identity on offense, and that's why they improved the offensive line. They went and got Isaac Samalo, they went and got offensive line depth. They drafted Broderick Jones in the first round, trading up to get him to make sure they got the tackle that they really wanted, and getting Darnell Washington is another piece that's like that, and I think that absolutely fits that bill. You have a piece coming out tomorrow in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette on Darnell Washington, on the tight end position. What do you envision being the look when Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington line up on the field at the same time? What kind of balance will that give Kenny Pickett on the field with, both having the threat of Najee Harris behind you with those two guys in front of you, but also having those two guys as receivers next to Deontay Johnson and George Pickens?
Yeah, once they do establish the run, Chris, I think there's a lot of possibilities. You can come out with bookend tight ends. You can during the cadence, you can split out Pat Freiermuth. You can make him, a number 3 receiver and basically run patterns out of the slot. So, I think once they establish the run, they could do that. Also, play action. You can keep those guys both in line on the line of scrimmage, turn around, fake the handoff to Najee Harris, and then maybe you could slip one or two of those guys behind the linebackers in patterns. And so, we've been talking about the Steelers not using play action a lot the last couple of years, certainly not with Ben Roethlisberger when he was here in the final chapters of his career. But now that you're really leaning into the run and you want to run more than you pass, I think play action has to become a big part of that. And I think now they're more equipped, they're better equipped to get that done with a guy like Darnell Washington as your number 2 tight end.
You have a 6'5" guy in Pat Freiermuth, a 6'7" guy in Darnell Washington, a 6'8" guy in Zach Gentry, all tall, big tight ends. But I think also what adds in here, Washington and Freiermuth, they can move a bit. They can get vertical. So yeah. I'm right with you. Play action, it needs to be in the playbook, and it needs to be something that the Steelers are using with Kenny Pickett to, again, establish that balance. If they are running the ball, I think that's the big thing that we saw last year when the Steelers ran the ball. People weren't terrified of it until like late in the season when they started to get better at it because the offensive line came together. But now your offensive line, you've got a first rounder on it. You've got some guys you brought in free agency you feel really strong about. You've rebuilt this offensive line. They should be running the ball better. Najee Harris will be a third-year running back. And then when teams start to capitalize on it, now you do have to have more of a vertical passing attack that when teams come up and play the run, like they did a lot last year, especially early on, you have to be able to hit them behind them when they play that aggressive. I do wonder if that's going to be a thing that we see from these tight ends, and it could be even a big point for the season to make this offense go.
Yeah, Chris, it's got to be the biggest tight end room in the NFL, 6'5", 6'7", 6'8". I actually looked this up because I was curious. I said, well, who's the tallest tight end in NFL history? There was a guy by the name of Morris Stroud who played for the Chiefs from 1969 to 1974, won a Super Bowl with them. He was 6'10". And you know what he was best known for?
What?
Back when the goalposts were on the goal line, they would put him on the goal line and he would swat the field goal attempts, and that's what he was known for. So a little bit of a history lesson there for people who like to go back and learn a little bit about the NFL.
Well, there you go. That is actually, I never knew that. That's actually very interesting. I find that very interesting. I want to find some tape of that because that's a heck of a strategy if you think about it. But I want to talk about the Steelers strategy after the draft now because we've talked a lot about that. And we'll keep talking about and analyzing different parts of the draft and how it's going to fit into this year. But we got to talk about what their next plans are here with Omar Khan and Andy Weidel. We'll do that in a minute here on the North Shore Drive podcast, so stick with us. But first, before we do any of that, got to talk to you guys about our great sponsors at GameTime.co. Buying tickets for your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your favorite events, whether they're sports, music, comedy, theater, anything near you. And they give you killer deals on last-minute tickets, and they have a best price guarantee at GameTime.co, and where you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you have. Download the Game Time app today right on your phone, and it'll allow you to book tickets up to the last minute, even if you didn't plan far out in advance. This happens a lot. Last-minute plans, things change, or you just didn't see that a certain band that was coming to town at the right time. Game Time is here to help you out finding those tickets, and they give you exclusive flash deals on tickets for anything from football to basketball to baseball to concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole bunch more. And the Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in the same row for the same event for less somewhere else, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Don't believe me? Try it out for yourself at GameTime.co or by downloading the Game Time app. Snag tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download Game Time, create an account, and when you do create an account, use the code PITTPIT, all capital letters, all one word, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase at Game Time. Or go to their website, GameTime.co. Terms and conditions apply. Create an account and redeem code PITTPIT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Back here in the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, I'm Chris Carter, still here with Ray Fittipaldo. We're going to switch to Buccos in the next segment, but before we do that, I want to talk to Ray here about the Steelers' needs still that need to be addressed here. Now, you wrote about this for the Post-Gazette this week in analysis of 4 positions the Steelers GM Omar Khan still needs to address in the draft. And the top 2 ones that you listed here were outside linebacker and inside linebacker. Now, the Steelers did go get Nick Herbig, who is a guy that projects to be an outside linebacker in a 3-4 system. You know, a guy who looks up to T.J. Watt. You know, has worked with him a little bit, both being Wisconsin guys. What do you see that what do you think they really need here? Do they need a bigger sized defensive end type guy that can flex out there, or is this? Do they need to kind of get a guy that's kind of like Nick Herbig, being an outside linebacker who's a bit smaller and just more, I guess, polished in their technique?
I just think in my gut right now, I think they probably need a veteran and a bigger guy who might be able to set the edge better in the running game should there be an injury to one of the starters. You know, I think he's a little bit different than Alex Highsmith. People said, well, Alex was number 3 when he was a rookie in 2020. Alex was bigger, right? I mean, yeah. Alex came in like at 250.
He was a defensive end kind of at Charlotte.
Yeah, and I think he was better at setting the edge as a rookie than I thought he was a pass rusher.
He was. I agree.
He didn't have much of an issue at all in the running game, at least not for a rookie. So when I look at Nick Herbig, I think it's a little bit of a different situation. I think he's got a chance to maybe earn some playing time. Maybe he's the number 3, but I think his niche might be more as a situational pass rusher in sub packages. So when I look at it, you know, they're pretty fortified against the run. You know, they finished the season strong against the run after a bad 2021, but they reinforced that. They went out and got Keanu Benton, the man in the middle. I just think if there's an injury, Chris, I think you probably need a bigger guy to maybe step in there to fulfill that role. And there's a bunch of edge rushers who are still out there. You know, some of these guys might cost more than the others, but if there's one position, there's a lot to choose from still in free agency, it's the edge rushers.
No, I feel you here. And just going over some of the top options, you know, Yannick Ngakoue still out there, Leonard Floyd still out there, Jadeveon Clowney still out there, Frank Clark still out there. Now, here's the thing, though. We're naming all these big names. You even brought up Melvin Ingram in the article that you wrote on this. But are any of these guys who have been stars in other places, are they going to be willing to just take the back seat to not just one guy, but 2 guys? Like Jadeveon Clowney reportedly left Cleveland because he didn't like how they were kowtowing to Myles Garrett, and he was still a starter. Like, he wasn't being benched for Myles Garrett. He was just not the primary focus there. Would these guys be willing to not only not start or not be the number 1 guy behind TJ Watt, but not start because Alex Highsmith is playing really good football?
Yeah, that's really important. I didn't even list Clowney, you know, Chris, for that reason, because I didn't think he would be a good fit for the Steelers. So, you have to find the guy who is in the portion of his career where he maybe realizes he's not a starter anymore, but he wants to be a part of a winner. He wants to, still play in the NFL. So I don't know who that guy is. I don't know enough about Frank Clark to know if he'd be a good fit here. Obviously, Melvin Ingram wasn't a good fit here just for that reason. It wasn't so much that he was a bad teammate, but he just wanted to play more. The Steelers weren't about to sacrifice Alex Highsmith's development, to get a veteran more playing time. So it's a delicate balance. Of those guys mentioned, I don't know which one would be the best fit. The one who intrigues me a little bit, and the Steelers found this out early in his career, would be Ngakoue. This is a guy who had pass rush production early in his career. He signed some big free agent deals, hasn't really been the same player. But if he's at the point in his career where he can accept a reduced role, I think a guy like him might be, appetizing for the Steelers.
28 years old. I think that's the other thing here is because when we talk about guys like Justin Houston, he's 34. Like Justin Houston has been doing this for a while where he just signs a 1-year deal, gets a nice little payday, and then moves on about his business. He's kind of like Clint Eastwood in a Western, just keeps going from town to town, just helping somebody out with the edge rushing position. Would you think it'd be smarter for the Steelers to go for one of these older edge rushers, or should they still they normally try to get guys that are in their mid to late 20s so that they're not too old coming into the team?
Yeah, another guy, Marcus Golden. He played college ball at Missouri with Denzel Martin. They were actually roommates together.
Okay.
I don't know what that dynamic would be like, playing for a former teammate. But he's a guy. He had, I think he had 11 sacks back in 2021. So I think Golden is 32 now. So again, you got to find the right guy. You got to find the guy that's going to buy in to maybe a number 3 or a number 4 role. Look what the Steelers have done the last couple of years. I mean, it's just kind of been like their number 4 guy has just kind of been blah, right? I mean, Jameer Jones, like even Chickalo. Like Chickalo was okay as a 3 for a while, but then he tailed off. And you got to eventually, if you're going to be a true contender, you do probably have to find a veteran who wants that role, who would buy into it. But I'm telling you right now, I think those guys are difficult to find. So, maybe if you don't find that guy, maybe if you're a little bit scared off by an Ingram 2.0, maybe you just go out and get a guy who doesn't have as much of a resume. And you just say, hey, let's see how this guy does. I don't know if Quincy Roche is the answer, Chris. I mean, it's kind of, former 6th-round pick, went to the Giants, didn't stick with the Giants. I mean, I just think he's a guy. So, if they could upgrade from him and get a legit number 3 or a number 4 in here, to sort of, backstop yourself against, Herbig's development, I think that would be a good development for the Steelers.
The next one position, though, is inside linebacker. And they whereas they at least drafted Nick Herbig, they didn't draft any inside linebackers. And, in the 3rd round, a lot of people were excited about Darnell Washington, but the Steelers at number 80, they could have taken Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson. He ended up going to the Ravens. Was this a mistake on your part to not address the off-ball linebacker, or do you see this as a more addressable situation in free agency to get another person? Because they've added a Landon Roberts, they've added Cole Holcomb, but all they have is Mark Robinson and Tanner Muse and a bunch of guys that they've kind of just thrown in there.
Tay Crowder, he's actually started.
Tay Crowder, yes.
Yeah, more games than Muse is more of a special teams player. But, Tay Crowder played for the Giants, fell out of favor last season. The Steelers grabbed him off their practice squad. So maybe there's some thought that Tay Crowder still has something left, at least for a backup role. But I think we're going to see like the dime linebacker options, right? Does Keanu Neal maybe drop down and play a little bit of that position for you in certain sub packages? So they might not have to go out and get a free agent, but again, if there are any injuries at all, Chris, is Mark Robinson ready to play if Landon Roberts gets injured? I don't know. Is Tay Crowder ready to resume a starting role? Should someone go down? And I think it's something to mull because Cole Holcomb has had injury issues. They're going to take it easy with him. I don't expect to see him at OTAs later this month. I think we'll see him in training camp first. And, I think it's important to at least have a plan. I'm not saying you have to go out and sign somebody this month, but, you better have a plan in case one of those guys gets injured.
I agree. The Steelers need to have some sort of plan, and maybe they do. Maybe they feel comfortable about Crowder. Maybe they feel comfortable about Mark Robinson stepping up this year. But just me, I think it would be smart to at least bring in one more guy at off-ball linebacker. That hey, maybe he can be an answer there. What would you feel about a guy like Dion Jones, he's bounced around the NFL a bit. He played for the Browns most recently, and even had a little bit of success with them.
Yeah, I mean he's a good player. Again, I want to say I didn't look it up, but Dion Jones is probably in his 30s now.
I think he's turned 30. Yes.
Yeah, so you're going to want to get a guy again who wants that role. Maybe he thinks the Steelers are close. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to come in and kind of be a mentor. I know Roberts was brought in for the same reason, but a guy who would accept the backup role. Kyle Van Noy is another guy. I know he's a little bit longer in the tooth. The nice thing about Van Noy, he could play on the edge for you, and he could play inside. I mean, Van Noy is one of the taller off-ball linebackers in the league. I want to say he's like 6'3". Play on the edge, he could play inside. So there are guys out there like that. But again, most of those guys are plus 30, and most of those guys are kind of on their last legs too.
I feel you on that. We'll see what moves they do make heading into the rest of the season, or as they progress through the offseason. Rookie camp starts up soon. Andy Weidel will be talking the Steelers, one of their front office top guys who created their draft board. He'll be talking Friday. We'll have our team there to cover that. We'll probably be talking about that either Friday or Monday or both. Who knows? We got a lot of things still to talk about here with this Steelers draft class, and we'll get to more of that as this offseason continues. Ray, thank you so much. We're going to switch pace. We got Jason Mackey coming up talking about the Buccos. Yes, they've lost 2 in a row, but they've still been on a great run. Is it sustainable? Is it something? Is this the beginning of the fall off? We'll talk about that and more right here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Stick with us. We'll be right back. We're back here on the North Shore Drive podcast, switching from Steelers draft talk to baseball. We got our man Jason Mackey, our Pirates beat reporter here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Jason, the Pirates dropped a 4-1 loss to the Rays, and this was another one. Before we get to this series, I think it's been interesting, throughout the week, when the Pirates were winning games and they were winning series, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, this team wasn't that good. This team wasn't that good. Then the Dodgers came to town. They turned out they weren't that good because the Pirates beat them, and then they went 2 out of 3 with Washington, and now they get their loss. So now everyone's trying to say, okay, this is the series where if they win, this is the one we'll know if they're for real. They ended up losing. Let's break down real quick what happened in this game that allowed them to. They didn't get the bats coming alive, and they let a few runs slip through.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, Chris, and it's honestly kind of a boring answer, but I'll try to jazz it up as much as possible. They have played really good baseball by playing really good, clean, fundamentally sound baseball, and they don't have a huge margin for error. We know the Rays do that stuff really, really well. In addition to hitting well, pitching well, or whatever, they're making good fundamental plays. Well, that's kind of where it went sideways on the Pirates. You see a leadoff walk, score, a bloop hit to center field that should be caught that isn't. Jack Sawinski talked about losing it in the roof. Okay, I completely understand that. But, you've got a double steal. Austin Hedges throws down to second on a breaking ball from his knees. You can't do that. Matthias, his throw home is wide, doesn't get the runner. We've seen Roansy Contreras be really good. He wasn't really good last night. He wasn't terrible, but I think he walked 4, made too many mistakes up in the zone. And so, the margin for error is so incredibly thin, especially when you're playing a team like the Rays, that we just saw that last night. I don't think it means the Pirates are a bad team. I just mean that they had a somewhat off night. They faced 7 Rays pitchers last night. The Rays used an opener and then brought in Josh Fleming. It was a tough lefty. They're not comfortable at bats, and it's not going to be comfortable tonight with Shane McClanahan on the mound. But it's not to say the Pirates can't do it. It's just they need to be a little bit more exact than they were last night.
No, I feel you on that. And like you said, they were allowing plenty of stolen. I think 5 stolen bases throughout the game. I know the Pirates have given up, quite a few this season, but that seems even excessive for them. Looking at this, but I've been waiting for the time when when are they going to hit a rough patch? When are they going to start making
You're
mistakes?
saying you're rooting for them to fail, Chris.
No, here we go. See, I know your tricks, Jason Mackey. I'm not falling for that. No,
I'm just kidding. I know what you mean. I think everybody felt that way. Yeah.
And we're all kind of waiting to see what happens. But one thing, you did a great analysis piece on several different statistic points that they have done well to put themselves in this position. They've lost 2 in a row, and they're still in first place in the Central. I mean, again, no one was picking them to even get this far in the hot start that they had. What do you think has led into going over some of the key stats that you had laid out on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette with your analysis? What are some of those key stats you think are the biggest components to their success right now, and something that they can keep channeling?
Starting pitching would be the first one, Chris. I spent some time in there talking about the quality starts that they've gotten, and literally quality starts that they've gotten. You notice the 2 they lost, Johan Oviedo was not very good. Roansy Contreras was not very good. I don't expect them to have guys going out and throwing 6 scoreless innings every night, but you need your starting pitcher to give you a chance to win the game. Oviedo largely didn't do that against the Nationals. Roansy sort of did, if you want to say it's a 4-run game or whatever, but the starting pitching at times has been downright dominant, and that helps. I'm writing a piece right now about their offense and sort of what's driven that. And it hasn't been a ton of home runs. I mean, they've piled up a lot of extra base hits, don't get me wrong. And I think some of that stuff is going to taper. For me, in the stats that I went through and stats that I think are important, one that I think really matters for them is on-base percentage and not swinging and missing, like having a plan, swinging at the right pitches, making sure the strikeout percentage is low, the walk rate is high. It doesn't take a ton of talent to have a plan and stick to it. I talked to Andy Haynes, the hitting coach, yesterday about dominating 2/3 of the zone, basically saying, like, I'm going to own this, I'm going to own that, and the pitcher can have the other third. If the pitcher hammers that other third, you tip your cap. You say, nice job. You can't cover everything. And so the Pirates have done that. And you look at, you can pour through the numbers. I won't get all nerdy there, but I mean, they quantify what the Pirates have done adhering to an approach. And we've seen that wiggle loose a little bit. Now, the good teams will bring it back, dial it in, and have a game where like they just sort of get back on track. So I'm waiting to see if that comes from the Pirates.
I'm waiting to see that too. Like you said, they have some interesting matchups right now with the Rays pitchers the rest of the way. McClanahan versus Keller, 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Tampa Bay, and then they finish out with an afternoon game Thursday. But then they get to return home for two series against the Blue Jays and the Rockies. But let's stay on this Tampa Bay series right now. If even if they lose this series, what is the biggest thing you want to see from them to rebound from how they lost last night?
Yeah, that's a danger, Chris. And I'll let me back up for a second. But there's been so much emphasis placed on this Tampa Bay series. I feel like if they win, everybody's going to take this and run, and they're going to be in the playoffs and go win the World Series. If they lose, everybody's going to say, oh, well, they're just, it was a hot month. Screw them. I'm done with them. When Steelers season start? The truth is somewhat in the middle here. It's their entire season. There's not going to be a referendum on the Tampa Bay series. And that's, I guess, just a narrative that I had to sort of get off my chest and address, not relative to your question. But the most important thing I want to see from this team, honestly, is they go back home, the next couple of series, whatever. I didn't expect them to maintain what they did for the month. But it's sort of like what I was talking about with the on-base percentage. How much of that can you keep going? They're not going to stretch 11 quality starts in a row. I mean, that's just let's be realistic about the team. But can they throw more strikes than they did last season? They should be able to. Can they have 5 or 6 quality starts in an 11-start stretch? I think that's within the realm of possibility. Sure. Can Mitch Keller be an ace and go toe-to-toe with McClanahan? Yeah, I think so. I think that's repeatable. And so how much of that stuff can they keep doing? And can they do enough of it to be a good team? And I think they can. This is a tough stretch of schedule. It really is. The Blue Jays are no slouch. You get a little bit of a soft spot with the Rockies, but and then you have to go to Baltimore, and that's not too terribly easy either. So I don't want to see this stretch beat them down. They need to be doing enough of what they did well to sort of survive.
One thing that happens, I think, to all teams that are playing past what people projected them as, and to talk about like, oh, they're on a hot run. I got to cover that for Pitt basketball. Is that then there becomes the question of will they keep their focus, and will they be able to kind of stay in the moment, not let their success get ahead of them and lose the kind of the mojo or the intangible feels that they've established, the practices that have gotten them there. Do you get a sense that this Pirates team is working very hard to kind of maintain their trajectory or the way that they're approaching things? Or do you feel this is more like a natural, like they're not even fazed by their success right now and they're just kind of just marching forward like without thinking about that?
Yeah, Chris, I'm glad you brought that up. That was actually a line of questioning I had for Derek Shelton yesterday and Jack Sawinski in the talk that I had with him. Like, how much do you want to sort of enjoy what you're doing versus like it's May 2nd, and that was part of Derek Shelton's answer. He's basically saying like, and I pulled it up here. I think you enjoy it because you're playing good baseball. You're reaping the benefits of playing good baseball. But the most important thing is today's May 2nd. And I'm glad that he prefaced his answer that way. Ben Cherington has been the same way anytime we've talked to him about it. It's basically saying like, we're focusing pitch to pitch. That's been a mantra around the Pirates. And I know it sounds silly, right? And it is to a degree, but like they're very aware of what is happening around them, but only so aware because their focus has been narrow. And I like that. And I talked to Sawinski about it. He's like, I think you need to look at it a little bit. He's like, we could look back at this time where we like broke through and sort of made something of ourselves. And, if we didn't enjoy it, like, why are we doing it? He's like, but at the same time, like we have to stay focused and we have to get our work in and sort of earn those opportunities, earn those times to celebrate and look at ourselves in the mirror and be happy. So it's an interesting dynamic, a push and pull with this team. And I think what we're seeing, Chris, is they're working their tails off to get to a point of celebration. And then once you get to the point of celebration, like let it go. In baseball, it's great. You get it every night. You get it you can have a party every night. And you win a game, you celebrate the heck out of it. You come back 24 hours, or not even 24 hours, 12 hours later, and you got to do it all over again. It's sort of like putting out a newspaper. But I like their focus with that, and that's sort of how it's been. So it's celebrating victory, but still day to day.
I think it's a big part of it is finding that balance, being proud of your success, but wiping it away. I hear a lot of athletes call it the 24-hour rule. Like, don't let it sink in. And like you said, for them, it's even 12 hours because they got to get back to work even sooner than that with how many games they play. He's Jason Mackey. He's covering the Pittsburgh Pirates through all of their stint. We'll see how things continue to go in Tampa Bay against the Rays. 2 more games again Wednesday evening and then Thursday. But then they're back in Pittsburgh against the Blue Jays and the Rockies. We'll keep up to date with Jason here on the North Shore Drive podcast. Thanks again for checking us out here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Remember, this show is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so we'll be back Friday breaking things down at the end of the week. We'll see how that series went and how things are setting up as they get ready to return home against the Blue Jays. He's Jason Mackey. I'm Chris Carter. Thanks again to Ray Fittipaldo for our Talking the Steelers. We'll be back here very soon on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Find all this content on your favorite podcasting apps, especially on YouTube. Like this video and subscribe to this channel for all of their content. Again, we'll be back at the end of the week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the North Shore Drive podcast of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down below in the description.